Hello and welcome to the Squeaky Bum Time Podcast with Mike and Laurent. It is Tuesday, November 2nd. In this episode, the Sword of Damocles actually fell. The loser does indeed leave town, and there were wild games, and a plus 180 long shot came through. But first, Mike, is this the biggest news of the season, our biggest episode? Spurs, Conte. Discuss what the fuck is going on.
We try so hard not to be super Spurs and City centric on this show, and
but it happens.
Often fail. But this is all about Spurs, right? I mean,
This is a very special episode about Spurs.
yeah, it is hot off the presses. We're coming to you from Monday night, where Antonio Conte has just signed the contract. The ink is not even dry on the page. He is the new manager of Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. I don't know what to think. I don't know how to feel. I don't know what to do with my hands. It's a lot. It's a lot to take in. A lot's happened in the last 72 hours, and we're going to go through all of it. But that is the headline, and with a holy shit exclamation point, so many questions, many thoughts. First of all, is why didn't this happen 4 months ago? Is he Jose Part 2? Why did they do this in the manner that they did it? Was it really fair to Nuno? How did Nuno go from manager of the month, Premier League manager of the month of August, to fired 7 games later? We'll get into all of it. But yeah, I mean, right off the jump, you got to think that Spurs are better waking up tomorrow than they are yesterday. They have a manager who is a quote unquote, and I hate this phrase, but it's true, serial winner, right? He is a guy who goes places and wins things. And if you're Tottenham, you have not had any of those since 2008. It's been a long time, and you've got to think about it in those terms that, like, look, I bag on the Carabao Cup a lot, and even the FA Cup to a smaller extent, but like, these people are just fucking tired of losing. And I get it. And they're not wrong, but they have in themselves sort of a partnership, because, right, like, this is the only reason, let's be clear, that Conte picked up the phone again after that total disaster in the summer where they tried to sign Conte is because of Fabio Paratici, right? Like, they were friendly at Juventus. They worked together, obviously. But it's without him and without the promise of him, Conte has managed against the best Spurs there was, right? With Pochettino and
the Battle of Stamford Bridge, or was that the year before?
I can't remember who was managing that Chelsea team. I hated whoever it was. But
it was Marie. It had to be.
It had to be Jose. Was it Jose? Because it was the year that they sucked.
It was New Year's Eve. It was early. It was when they were up and coming.
No, the Battle of the Bridge was late because that was the game that handed Leicester the title. Anyway, it's not important. So there's just, I don't know. I'm this is all drinking it in, brand new, but like, so Paratici, right? Like, he saw when they were at peak Spurs that they didn't really kick on. They didn't really supplement the team. My goodness, we've talked about it till I was blue in the face and wanted to kill myself. But is this a different Spurs, right? It felt like Jose was offered that when he came aboard, right? The whole failing of the flame out of Mauricio leaving was that he was never supplemented and helped when he needed it. And Jose was saying, well, I need funds, right? And it wasn't so much.
He also said that this was a good team and I can win with them.
Yeah. And
you know what? He may have won the League Cup. It's possible. Like, it was a final. He could have won it.
It was a final. It was a final.
I just think, like, with Conte, there's a bigger sort of thing here, which is like the Premier League now has literally all the greatest managers of the last 20 years, aside from Mourinho, right? Pep,
right.
Klopp, Conte, Tuchel, even Benitez is a really good manager. And then you've got, the sort of, there's only like 2.
You've got Ranieri,
all the, like, there's like the last 10 or 15 league winners. The managers are all in the league.
Yeah. Well, again,
just insane.
Aside from Jose, but yeah. I'm Carlo Ancelotti. No, he's not there anymore. Sorry.
He was just there, but he was just there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, and I just think about the Premier League. It's just the narrative. Like, it's now becoming the New York City to to the Bundesliga to La Liga's Newark, right? It's just sucking all the energy into it, right? Like it's a bigger city, it's a bigger story. Maybe there is a kind of consolidation of up and down where like the money just flows. You can't. There's nothing you see. There's nothing you see. It's network effects. There's nothing you see that the Premier League is going to start to fail, right?
Here you go.
And it's just,
the Premier League is being gentrified. That's basically what's happening here, right? All of the affluent, young, white male and females are just flowing into the Premier League.
What's the ghetto team that someone bought that was like the middle class black neighborhood was Newcastle, and it's been bought up. Are you saying that Newcastle is Bed-Stuy?
No, that's Wales.
But I think that's the same thing. And the only thing that's going to break it is the Super League, and that's why it's sort of this is another one of these moments where if we can step back, this is another one of the money, the glamour, the fact that the Premier League is international. Any manager, if you're not in the Premier League, you're not in the game. Right? You've got to be one of the characters on the show. Right?
Yep.
And Conte's, and they're all going to lose, right? Only one of them's going to win the league. There's only one FA Cup. There's only one League Cup. And you've got to convince yourself that that thing matters because you're supposed to be, a special guest star. It's like, what the fuck? I can't believe it's like the Scooby-Doo episodes when the Three Stooges were on it. That was a big deal, man.
So let's go. Do we want to go into the anatomy of what has actually happened, or do we want to talk about the game first? Because we're going to talk about.
both. I think we should probably talk about the game because I think that instills some of the narrative because it did distill two managers' lives, right?
Right.
On the one hand, we have
the scene. Go ahead. Sorry.
On the one hand, we have Ole, who is the most 9 lives manager in the world. He gets a performance one more time. He does the cursory change that everyone wants. He gets the team to play to their strength for once, which is, hey, don't press Liverpool, you moron. What are you doing? So, United sit back. They play a back 3, which means they are essentially adding an extra defender to protect their 2 midfielders who got overrun. It's still McFred, but like you said, and like you should have bet, which was Ronaldo to score and United to win. Ronaldo opens the scoring. I thought Spurs were okay in the beginning. I think Son and Mora were really trying. Again, Harry, where are you? I know it's hard. I get it. What are you going to do? You're not Lewandowski if you're not affecting the games. Anyway, that's a different story. They try and affect the games. There's a miss early. I feel like Son had a chance where he shot it over the bar coming on one side. But then an amazing ball from Fernandes, from Bruno to Ronaldo. And it's a finish that nobody does.
I was going to say 3 or 4 people in the world could do.
Right. Some guys do it once in a blue moon, but
it's a training ground. It's a training ground play where you're fucking around at the end of practice and that goes in and everybody goes, all right, we're done here. Nobody's going to do better than that. Let's get the fuck out of here.
Set the stage, it's a perfect ball, nice and soft, over the top diagonal that Ronaldo does a sort of juke move, runs into space, does these little things. When people talk about, oh, this striker has good movement, what it means is they take a step forward, they take a step back, they run around the defender and then peel away, literally putting the footsteps on the defender to make them think there's someplace when there's someplace else. And Ronaldo pulls himself back into the back post, and he's got a lot of work to do. He plucks this thing out of the sky and roofs it. It's the Aguero goal location in that top.
Well, it wasn't a roof. It was straight across into the side netting, right? Which
is that actually, right? It felt roofy. Whatever.
Yeah, no, it was.
Well, don't talk about roofies with Ronaldo because he might.
Oh, there you go. He's not allowed in Vegas. It was a straight piss missile into the side netting, and that's why it was actually, to me, more impressive because it's easier to hit it up, right?
Yeah.
But it's actually the fact that he hit it on a straight plane was actually the most impressive.
And then I think Spurs are okay. They're hanging in there. They're kind of not having the same problems that they have, which is they just don't create anything. But much as
United did sit back and kind of let them.
But that's how they were going to play the whole game.
No. I'm saying
you don't have to press
Spurs were okay.
Why press Spurs?
United were like, yeah, fucking fine. Go for it, right? But I think the larger point is that, as you said, we had our chances, and Sonny should have taken that better. And I'm not going to criticize Sonny at all, but
it was completely uninspired. Son and Mora the only ones playing with energy, a sense
Okay.
of pride.
Okay.
I mean, I'm applying things. It seemed that way watching from behind.
See, I
I
don't.
don't expect Skip and Højbjerg to do anything. They're not able to.
Okay.
Where's Lo Celso's creative passes?
Well,
Where's the movement? Where's
everybody
the
expects this
crowd
also
was
to be
tense.
Ericsson. Yeah, of course the crowd was tense, right? But like, I think we're missing the point here, and we're
Like,
we're
why is Ben
allowing the
Davies
man-
playing?
That's fine. The story is not Spurs here. The story is, and by the way, Sky Sports won't tell you this. The man-made narrative won't tell you this. United weren't that fucking good.
No, they were. It was easy.
It was easy. Well, it was easy, but they also gave up chances that they could have been 2-0 down easily in the first 20, 25 minutes. And so when I look at this, the scoreline flatters United quite a bit here. And what is going to happen as a result of this is that, yes, United won the game.
They're going to lose to
and in a 4-dimension chess move, Spurs win the war because what happens now is that Ole stays. Right?
Oh, those performances is great for all of us.
Exactly. Though we wouldn't have a show if he got fired.
This is great. Ole staying is great. The reprieve.
This is the type of performance. This is the type of performance that you've seen out of United time and time again, but nobody's talking about it. A, because they're tired of it potentially, but B, because they've got a new whipping boy, right? Spurs this, Spurs that, and that's okay. It's fine. I'm not complaining. But what I'm saying is this United team is going to continue to get smoked against proper
good
competition.
Teams. Yeah, but to be fair, Gary Neville and Roy Keane, the bassist for Roy Kent, both were like, come on. Yeah, it's nice that they won. They did what they were supposed to do. But Neville was like, why the fuck did it take 9 games? How do you not know that this is how you should play? Why did you wait? Yeah. And I don't know if this is going to work against other teams, right? I think one thing I did notice was Varane made a difference, right? He was much more mobile. He was much more able to come out and defend guys out in space on the wings because they had a 3. There was protection. Mm-hmm. You could go out there and stop Royale from doing things. With Ben Davies, you don't have to stop him from doing anything. You just go ahead, cross it, enjoy yourself. But I mean, it's one of these tricky things. How bad Spurs were uninspired when Mora came off. The crowds chanted, "You don't know what you're doing."
Oh, that was rough. That was rough, dude.
Because he was playing well,
but like, yeah,
right. All right, you don't know what you're doing. They're booed off at halftime, and they're booed off at the whistle.
Let's go back to what the fuck.
So this is all Nuno problems.
Okay, yeah, let's go back into Nuno a little bit. So, opening day of the season, all of the Kane kerfuffle and nonsense around the club. He's not playing. City are. They're trying to steal Kane in the middle of the night, like the Baltimore Colts, and it's just toxic. And what happens at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium? 60,000 people stood up and said, fuck you, not today. And realistically, if you go back and you think about that game,
they pushed.
Spurs were fine. But every time, and we talked about it multiple times on the show, every time Tanganga kicked Grealish or kicked Sterling, 60,000 people said, fuck you, idiot. It was like they were cheering a goal. The stadium won that game. I'm genuinely in that belief. And so, okay, triumphant 3 points. Nuno knows, right? 2 idiots with microphones said.
What do we know?
It was a signature win for a club that was just bruised and battered from a summer of just frankly getting torn through the mud, right? So that was awesome. It was a great moment. The next game, if you remember, was away at Wolves, and they got played off the park, and Adama Traore put 3 shots, including a breakaway, into like row Z. Like horrible. He took a shot, went out for a fucking throw-in. Okay, this is the kind of accuracy we're talking about here. So they get a goal, they steal that game, and I mean steal. So now they're 2-0, and everybody's like, okay. And I go back and listen. I was like, hey, they were not good. All right, let's just slow down. And it was a hostile environment. Fine. You come back home,
and then you barely beat Watford.
Barely on a shit set piece goal by Sonny from about 45 yards out. And it just kind of flukes into the net. And you only beat Watford 1-0. Hey, shut your mouth, take the points, get away with it, go into the international break. And then all fucking hell breaks loose with the Argentinian guys. Sonny gets hurt literally on other sides of the fucking world. In fact, they were probably closer to each other than they were to London. So
The Palace game
everything
was
starts
bad.
to break
You
down
got
there.
the doors blown
Right.
off you against
Right.
Palace. Really
And
bad.
then
There was a
right,
red
and
card
so
for Tanganga. That was weird.
so
He never
so
played again.
starts to happen is two things. Adversity strikes where you didn't have all the Argentinian guys, and I believe Sonny missed that game as well. And you started to see that they had papered over the cracks for a month, and it was all happy-go-lucky. But holy shit, this is actually what's happening here. He didn't really have a plan. Now, to give the man his due, he's been a Premier League manager for years at Wolves, but he didn't ever really seem like he knew how to play with this team. And say what you will about Kane, he's great, he's horrible, he's sulking, he wants to leave, he wants to stay, whatever. He didn't do much, but there was never any ability to really give him, I guess, the limelight, give him the ball, give him service, right? And we had seen this over the years. When he doesn't get involved, he's irrelevant, right? He doesn't get involved, right?
Yeah, it happens.
So I don't really lay a lot of blame at his feet, surprise, but it's just there was never really a plan. The Newcastle game, which again going into it was a narrative monster with them just building it, the first sold out game at St. James Park, they give up a goal in the first 30 seconds.
That looked bad. Yeah, he played well though.
Who scores the game winner, right? So, but that was the first time we said it on the show, and I said it's fucking Newcastle. Give it a minute, let it sit, and if it stays, then we have something. If not, then we're in trouble.
I also think that one of these things is the style of play is not a Spurs style. That's stated by Levy. The North London derby was really bad, so it was the equivalent of the Liverpool game.
So was Chelsea.
Without but Chelsea at that point was like, are they going to win the league? And they're back. They're still top. So that's okay. That's not the end of the world. Losing to Chelsea is not the end of the world. It was at home. That's bad. But Arsenal's bad.
And West Ham.
This West Ham game, you can't.
3 London derbies, 10-1, I think.
Yeah, it's bad. Really bad.
No, less than that, but a lot to 1.
No, 10. Palace. 3-0.
Palace.
Chelsea,
right.
3-0.
4 London derbies. Pardon me. That's how you got to 10. Right. So, not great.
And then I think, and then the other thing is Nuno's personality. He's just
he never
a chill guy who's not Mourinho.
Well, but in the face of adversity, in the face of difficulty, he didn't handle it very well. You could tell he was cold. And I'm not criticizing the guy. I'm saying that he struggled in an environment where everybody had been dealing with all of the upheaval, all of the ridiculousness of Jose the last 2 years. That locker room was tired, and he didn't do much to unify, right? All they heard was Portuguese, cold, weird dude who's kind of make us play defensively.
I just read an Athletic
Jose
article
with the beard.
He lost his team, one of his guys who was like the clubhouse guy, and he hasn't had him, so he's even less connected to the team. They didn't like him in the first. Well, not didn't like him. Nobody knows him. Even in the Kane saga, he's like, I haven't talked to Harry Kane. What are you doing?
Yeah,
you should be at his fucking house.
Yeah,
like knocking on the door. So, I mean, but the bigger news is to have Conte at Spurs is just that's a big deal. This is a name, I thought Mourinho being at Spurs was a name brand, but it was like a tarnished brand. And I thought it would make a difference, but then there was some good moments.
It was like
in
an
the first
Adidas
season. He turned thing around. It was cool for a minute, but I think maybe
I was
if
there.
the fans
it was very
were there,
cool for a minute.
Yeah, it was cool. There was some things that happened, and maybe if Mourinho wasn't such a toxic person, it might have been interesting if they kept him around. Maybe he would have won the League Cup if they didn't fire him. I don't know. It's fine.
All right. Cool.
It would have mattered for some people. You can argue that.
I know.
And then, you have the crazy saga to replace him, which goes really badly.
Horribly. In the midst of, in a parallel or in the same universe, but parallel to that is the Kane saga, right? So you have both simultaneously. You bring in Paratici. What's really going on with that? This is
apparently he's running the team for real.
That's his job, right?
Yeah.
But if he's running the team, then why didn't he get Antonio Conte 4 months ago? Well, I'll tell you.
Because Kane was unavailable. He didn't know. There was too much. But there were too many unknown unknowns, right?
There were a lot of unknown unknowns. But the problem that happened was because Conte said no, not because Spurs said no, right? Because it was They were quibbling and quabbling over $2 million in salary. And then Spurs and Conte was like, wait a minute. If you're not going to pay me, how the fuck? Oh, you're just going to do that thing you've been doing for the last 3 years and you're just not going to settle for anybody. You're not going to go get a Chiesa when I tell you that's the guy to go get. You're not going to go get an Eriksen replacement or a Dembele replacement. You're just going to get me a Walmart brand of all these motherfuckers and tell me to go out there and figure it out. And that's what you're paying me to do. Yeah. That's not going to work. Yeah. You've proven that it's not going to work, right? And when Mourinho got hired, right, and it was the same serial winner bullshit. Well, it was an unmovable
Conte's
object.
better than Mourinho at this point.
Yes, I understand. But the man-made narrative was it's an unstoppable object and an immovable force. Jose has won everywhere he's went, and Spurs are allergic to happiness. What will give? Well, we got our answer.
We've done 20 minutes of Spurs. I think that's a lot.
Oh, I had 40 more, but yeah, let's go back to we're
there
gonna
are
come
some
back
other
to
games that happened. We have
good
Ole
games.
being rescued. They were really good games. We have Ole being rescued. Where do you want to go? Do you want to go to my pain or to my joy? Well, that's actually the same.
Let's go to my other pain.
You want to go to Liverpool-Brighton?
Well, let me go to my other pain because let's talk about
your Leicester bet.
Let's talk about the Arsenal game because as we wean off of the Tottenham conversation and the United conversation,
you have to go from Spurs to Arsenal hatred.
It's a short road, right? So yeah, we have to stick in the shitty part of North London. But I look at the table and I said this last week, and there's only 3 good teams in the league. Let me amend that slightly because I hate clickbaity, nonsensical, ridiculous, over the top sayings. They're not 4-12 isn't bad. They're just not good, right? Yeah. When you look at everybody, we learned a lot about United. We learned a lot about Spurs. Well, I guess we have to start from scratch with Spurs. We learned a little bit about Arsenal. We learned a lot more about Leicester City this week. Okay. Leicester City had an expected goals of 1.85 in this game. Now, I did say that Leicester money line was one of my bets. I did go pretty hard on it. And then at halftime, I took Leicester second half too. So I'm a little bit pissed off at Leicester.
A little salty.
But my goodness, Harvey Barnes came out at halftime and affected change. And Jamie Vardy was good. But oh my God, they couldn't hit water if they fell out of a fucking boat on Saturday. Yeah. They were bad in front of goal.
Yeah.
There were
normally they're pretty good. So
yeah, of course. There were times where they just couldn't figure it out. But again, what I mean to say is that Leicester should have gotten a point out of that. And they were down 2-0 after like 10 minutes, right? It was some fluky goals from Arsenal. I will say Emile Smith-Rowe, who we've been talking about every time we talk about Arsenal now, he's fantastic. He's really, really he's been the glue in the midfield. They've been missing that for a long time. I don't like it. He scares the shit out of me. I also did think I had him in fantasy and I had Odegaard. I was like, fuck. But you have Emile Smith-Rowe. Anyway, Arsenal belong in that 4-12 conversation. I was wrong about them to that extent. I'm still not going to say they're any good. I'm still not going to say that they deserve to be in the Champions League or even Europa League spots. But in the context of who does, it's a great question.
They're the thing that Arsenal have that's different from the other group of teams. You've got the sort of, we're on the crest of so we have Leicester is on the crest of their team. Like it's not young. It's kind of like we're here. We need to push through. Yeah. You have Spurs who are in a downside of their crest of wherever they are.
Spurs are the creepy old dude who tries to date your 23-year-old daughter.
Yeah. They're still wearing the stuff from they're wearing their Timbos from the club and baggy pants. Yep. They're still trying to get it done, and people are like, I don't know. They're on Insta and it's uncomfortable. They're buying followers. It's a little weird because they still have money, but they're a little weird. You have United who are just like the worst version of that, but they are clearly a class ahead of this group. They're in the muck, but they're not in this group. West Ham are a solid group, but you wouldn't say there's a lot of upside inside of West Ham.
Go back to United for a second. United, you're right. They're in a totally different
United
group.
Should be with City and Liverpool.
But no, they are, but they're the scum of that group. They're the guys God.
Well, they also have a bad coach. Like he's holding them back, right?
He's sleeping. He's sleeping outside of his mother's house. I think he peed all over himself. It's bad.
It's bad. It's bad. They're not well. They're the Kendall Roy of the Premier League.
I was enjoying that metaphor too much. I was like, I'm not letting you go back to that.
Yeah, it's Kendall Roy. That's United. They're taking on the old man, and it's a problem. But of the group, Arsenal have the most upside. They played 7 players 22 and under. So that says a lot, right?
Okay.
That means that they can grow. That means that they can grow together. They can get used to each other. So, like, even if they finish in 7th this season and Arteta has but with a couple more good wins, they can go, you know what? We're all together. We're moving. He's actually got Aubameyang and Lacazette pressing, which is insane because they never did. And now they are.
Yeah. Okay. I was going to say, I didn't notice them at all on Saturday.
Well, they were there. They were doing stuff. They're running.
Okay. But wait, it's an important context you just said. I'm looking at this season, right? And I think you're onto something. I think that Arsenal they have a lot of building blocks of the future. Like I said, Smith Rowe, and if I'm looking at the table this year and in the context of qualifying for Europe next year, I don't think they're there. I would prefer Leicester.
I would prefer lots
Brighton.
of teams.
No. What I'm saying is I think that West Ham, Brighton, Leicester, and Tottenham is the wild card here are better than them from the, call it 4 to 7 range, right? So that puts them firmly in 8th, which is where Brighton is, which if Basuma's out on bail, then I like Brighton more than them too.
Right. So Brighton, my team, my secret love child team, they go to Liverpool after getting the doors blown off them by City, but putting up a really good second half and
this was so
going
fun.
down fighting, right? They lost 4-1, but they were like, yeah, fuck you, City. We'll lose, but we're going to lose fighting.
Yeah, this was low-key. When we look back, this is going to be one of the top 10 games of the season, I think.
But Brighton really hung in there. They have good players. They have good mentality. Like, this is a front line of Trossard, Gross, Solly March. These are not awesome players. These are journeymen, and they get a lot. Like, if there's a team getting, but it's indicative of good coaching. Now, I understand that there is a ceiling, right? It's one thing coaching really well at Brighton. It's completely another coaching Manchester United, right? So I don't begrudge that. Like, you got to walk into the room with Cristiano and he's got to think you're somebody, right? Mm-hmm. You can't be a schnook. So either you have trophies because you're nobody. Like, let's say Brendan Rodgers walks into Manchester United. Cristiano's not listening to him.
Okay.
That's the one thing Ole has, right? I was in the Champions League final. I scored a fucking goal. I play for United. I have 6 trophies. I'm a real person in this game.
So wait, let's pause this for a second. Let's say they lose 3 in a row and they do whatever they do. Because the question I have about United is they got into this mess in the first place because Ole was an interim manager who did well, especially in Europe, right?
Yeah.
So I'm curious if they're willing to make that mistake again, or if they're going to wait until the end of the season, right, and then get somebody. Because I don't think that there's anybody there that's available.
There's nobody
unless Pochettino gets fired.
But the best coach available in terms of actual coaching, like X's and O's, no, like if it's Football Manager and you're just like get to run it, the coach you want is Potter. He just is.
But he's not available. Is my point.
He's available for Manchester United.
Not
he's
in the
available.
Middle of the season. Not in the middle of the season.
Sure he is.
But that's what I'm saying is that, like, okay, in my time, I don't know that I've seen that, right? To see a Premier League coach quit on his team that middle of the season to go to a big club.
Well, Rodgers did it, but he was at Celtic going for an undefeated season and he left and went to Leicester.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
But Rodgers is an asshole. But he did.
But again, that's not the Premier League to the Premier League, right? So that's
I understand it.
So there's not that much precedent.
It's been done. It's probably been done somewhere.
I'm sure it has, but I'm failing to come up with one, especially in recent memory.
It's not recent, but even Potter in the offseason would be a crazy move. It's not brand enough. Anyway,
well,
Brighton were incredible.
Potter or Thomas Frank let me ask. Sorry, let me get to the question I was going to ask you. Yeah. If Potter or Thomas Frank walks into that room and Ronaldo and Cavani and Pogba are sitting there staring at him, Is he a schnook, or does he have something that they're going to listen to, at least initially, because they have seen what they've done with this much, right?
Yeah.
And does Ronaldo go, hey, I'm not Solly March, right? Like I can fucking do things with you. You know what I mean? Like,
no, I understand it. I understand it. Are the players? Oh yeah, right. Is Ronaldo? Are these big players big enough to go? I don't care what you've done. Can you make me better and win this game? You seem like you know a lot about football, and and how long does it take for those guys to trust him and go, oh yeah, right? Like, so the thing is, like, we think about Pep as being cerebral, but he's an all-time great player. He came in with gravitas. He wasn't a schnook. He was part of the super team at Barcelona that won the Champions League for the first time under Johan Cruyff. So he's not a nobody, right? So these guys that win trophies that you see, they're very rarely Tuchel's. That's what Tuchel's actually pretty amazing. Or Klopp. Even Klopp is a kind of nobody player. But win
Klopp
and have
went up the levels, right? Tuchel went.
He took a long time. They went up the levels,
right?
Yes.
So they're not Dortmund, as crazy, right?
Right. So that's the thing. Potter needs another step. He needs to go to whatever the club is. It needs to be traditionally. It could be Spurs. It could be Everton. It could be Newcastle. It could be Leicester. Right. Rodgers. The dominoes could move and he could go to Leicester. That's the thing. It's very rare to go from one to the other. Like, where did Pochettino come from? He went to Southampton, right?
Southampton. So, it's going to be Newcastle is the next step for whoever that is, by the way.
And that's the other thing.
That's the other thing. And I'm going to go back to Conte for a second because I'm just so fascinated. The reason why they made this move is not because Nuno was flunking out after 4 months, right? I don't believe
it was more than that.
It was more than that, but it was the most of it was United's not going to fire Ole right now. They might in the next month. And Newcastle is just sitting there. And we know nobody knows what the fuck Newcastle's up to. But we know our guy is out there. We have to go get him. We didn't get him 4 months ago. We have to go get him right fucking now before somebody else does this time.
It's very smart. It's very smart. Like,
and that's why.
This United fans should be crushed right now. Yeah. They had a shot to get rid of Ole, not because he's a bad guy, but because he doesn't know what he's doing. Now, if he goes and beats City, they could beat City. City could go on a 3-game losing streak. I do not doubt that could happen. City lost to fucking Crystal Palace at home. Conor Gallagher kicked the shit out of them. Wilfried Zaha called people bitches and tried to throw a punch at Gabriel Jesus, and we lost on a red card. I'm resigned. I'm resigned to this. But one thing that's interesting, about that game is I on our $1 million bets, or whatever the hell we're calling them, our crappy bets, I just threw my hands up and just put $10 on all the longest of long shots. So I had plus 1,000 for Brighton to win at Anfield. I had
18
Newcastle at plus 800 away at home to Chelsea, and I had plus 1,800. It went up to plus 2,000 for Crystal Palace because I was like, whatever. I don't know what to do. I'll win one of these.
They couldn't get anybody to bet on it.
Yeah. If I'm honest, I did not think that Crystal Palace was going to win this game.
No.
But as a City fan, I remember the teams that beat us more than the teams we beat. The teams we beat, they just sort of fade away, and I don't even remember the wins or anything. There's only a few games that I remember. But Palace, Andres Townsend Thundercunt, when we had just lost to Newcastle, I remember in the Liverpool in the 18-19 season, which ended up setting up the greatest game of my life, the John Stones game, as it will now be known. But I knew something about Palace, and I knew they were not a plus 2,000. Right, City going into that game had not given up a goal at home. They had the best defense in the league. Well, now they don't. And, they were coming off a loss to West Ham on penalties, which usually means City rarely lose 2 in a row. I mean, it's like a shock. And they came out. Wilfried Zaha did Wilfried Zaha things, a dive in by Ruben Diaz to try and make a tackle. Zaha scuffs the shot. But in one of the things, City fans know this, Ederson has been 10% less than normal.
Interesting.
He doesn't make saves that you want him to make, where you're like, we need you, buddy. You got to make this save. In 9 times out of 10, well, lately he's been not doing that, whereas Alisson saves fucking goals left and right and makes me crazy. You're like, fuck you, Alisson. But Ederson doesn't make the save on a shot. Could he have saved it? Maybe. So City down a goal. They're pushing. The same City problems are happening of like, we go into the bag of tricks of what's wrong with City. We don't have a striker. So that happens. The other thing is there's a lot of weird things happening. Like Grealish's force of personality is forcing City to play more like Aston Villa last season, which is weird. Like he's getting the ball and holding on to it. And like, you're like, we don't do this. What are you doing?
Move the ball. Yeah.
Jack, he's doing that.
There's 6 of you out there. There's 6 Jack Grealishes out there.
Don't do this.
Yeah, we don't.
So he's unique. He has his own thing. And then the unsung secret things that all City fans know, but most people don't, is KDB is fucked up. Something's wrong with him. Like,
yeah, didn't he fuck up his ankle at the Euros?
You can tell. Like he limped around the pitch coming off at halftime. His passes are going awry. His touches are bad. He's still getting assists, but things aren't coming off. Like he needs to be benched.
There's no joy. Well, just sit him down, right? Like
he doesn't even look happy, and he looks sort of bloated, like he's on painkillers. Like it's not a good look for him because he was never ripped or cut or like had something about him. He basically looks like a pig, like a pink pig. That's what my wife calls him. He looks like a pig that's running around out there, and the pig is looking bloated, so that's not good. So City I think there's a little bit of, even though City won the league last year, I don't think anyone. It's weirdly in transition. Like there was a lot of players that left over the last couple of years. No Silva, no Company. We feel like Company's replaced with Diaz, but there's some growing pains happening that are weird. Like when Grealish moves to the middle will be the next thing to ask the question for. Like when does he take De Bruyne's spot instead of out on the wing? Right. Because that's going to happen. Because then you can bring Sterling back in where he's supposed to play. So you can go Foden's basically taken over the 9 spot, which is fucking weird, which I called and I didn't.
You guys say you called for that though.
Well, he's the only guy who can shoot.
Yeah.
He's the only guy who will shoot. Is even worse.
True.
But he can't get into the box because they just hammer his ass. So City lose, they're off the pace. And if we were talking about this before the show, for narrative's sake, the whole air around United has been ridiculous and a little bit crazy. And I've talked about Ole, and we've done whole shows about Ronaldo and all these things. They are one game different than City.
Yeah.
For a fraction of the discussion. Right? So I get it. United's a
City
bigger
aren't
club.
fun to talk about.
Correct. They're not fun to talk about. Exactly. They're boring. City are boring. There's only pep, and there's only what happens on the field. So my team struggles. If they'll be top 4, but I don't know that we have a clear favorite aside from who's actually at the top of the table right now. Between Liverpool, City, and Chelsea, they're all much better than everyone else, but flawed.
Yeah, of course. So what I'll say about Liverpool is that I think they currently look like the best club in the league, and I understand what the table says. But they are shipping goals like crazy. We talked about it on whenever the fuck they played, Saturday, Sunday, that they're very 13-14-ish. They're very Suarez Liverpool year. But the main difference, better than that, but the difference is that, like you alluded to, Alisson bails them out sometimes. They're still shipping goals, obviously, but and
to be fair, their midfield is missing, right? It's Henderson.
Yeah, but like the thing is that
no Keita, no Fabinho.
Keita, you almost can't count anymore. He gets so hurt so fucking much. So Keita, Mane, Salah going to be gone pretty soon for basically 2 months. You can't call Liverpool the favorite right now. You just can't. No, I understand.
Well, I understand. I mean, again, look, it's Chelsea on 25, Liverpool on 22, City and 20. The venerable West Ham on 20.
Yeah, we have to count them, I suppose. But listen, you sleep on Manchester City at your own peril.
Well, I'm not gonna sleep on them. I'm
not
just
saying
sandbagging
I'm
a
saying
little bit.
the larger group. But as it stands right now, it's Chelsea's to lose, and I do think that I don't think that they'll finish there. But I mean, 5 points clear after 10 games is a nice start, right? I mean,
They
it's
don't
another
give.
game.
The thing is, even when they don't score, they don't give anything up. They don't give up
3 goals against, and this needs to be said because they've been working with a makeshift backline, couple of injuries, couple players moving in and out. We talked about it on the show a lot. I took them as a draw to win a couple weeks ago, which didn't work when they put up 7 on Norwich. And I was right this time about Newcastle. They'd start slow, they'd struggle a little bit, they'd find their form, and they'd get the points. It's exactly what happened. I was a fucking week off. But that's exactly what they are right now, right? They haven't beaten anybody good. I'm going to look at their fixtures in a second here. I don't know what's waiting ahead of them. Well, look at that. They've got Burnley, then they take on Leicester, Juve, who they lost to the first time around in the Champions League, United, Chelsea.
Yeah.
And then Watford is a win, and then Chelsea, West Ham. So those are some big games coming up, right?
So the other thing about Chelsea that makes them different from the other clubs is they are outperforming their expected goals. Like they're getting the luck. They're plus 10 on goals for, on expected goals 17. They have 26, and they're plus 7 on expected goals against. So they're getting lucky or good or both. So they're
and they've had
the best defense in the league should be City's, but it's not.
Look, they've had a lot of softness. I guess a decent amount.
No, they've been
Newcastle,
clinical.
Norwich.
Yeah, but they've been clinical Norwich, in both
Brentford,
defense.
Southampton. Those are their last 4 games.
Yeah, but they're clinical in defense and attack, right? And
I
mean by clinical in defense is like they get shit off the line. They'll save their asses. You're like, what? That Mendy, the Brentford game, that's a loss. Like that should never have happened.
Yes, absolutely.
Like, what the fuck
and they got the bounces in that one. And realistically, of those 4 games, that's the only one that they were really ever in danger on, right? So Southampton, Brentford, Norwich, and Chelsea. I'm sorry, Newcastle.
They should have lost the Liverpool game. Let's be fair. They were under attack.
Right. And so now we're sitting here. They're 5 points clear. They've got a bit of a stretch coming up where they're going to be tested. We're going to find out a lot more about Chelsea. For their own sake, if they're healthier than they are right now by then that'll bode well for them. But the next 30 days for them is going to be interesting. So we're going to learn a lot more about.
That's the difference, though. They're not going to ship goals. They're winning without Lukaku scoring.
Yeah, but they're not for wanting for goals, though, right? So those goals are just going other places, which is sort of, I think, your point. But it's not like Lukaku is going to come into this team and give them more scoring. I think
they don't need it. They have. I think the number is 16 different goal scorers.
Yeah, they're averaging 2.6 a game. But and granted, that's 7 against Norwich, but still, that's 2 goals. That's 2 goals a game, right? So I'm not saying that Lukaku will or won't do anything for this team. I'm just saying that he won't give them something that they're currently missing, right?
Yeah.
But no, and it's not a slight on anybody at all. It's a testament to Chelsea's depth to be able, like you said, 16 different goal scorers.
They are the deepest of all the teams. They are the deepest,
which is so weird when you're in a league with Manchester City. But it's true. It's definitely true.
I mean, no, but City have depth, but they have depth in the same place. Like they have 14 different midfields they could play. Right. But they don't have depth in defense.
In the same way that. Sure. But in the same, nor did Chelsea really. And that's kind of what we're finding out. It's working because of the unit, but it's not necessarily.
Yeah, but they roll out that kid Sarr and he leads the team in tackles. Like City don't just roll a dude out.
Sure.
And he's good.
Sure.
Like when City roll a kid out, he gets annihilated.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or but it doesn't even have to be a kid. When Nathan Ake plays, City ship goals because the precision of City is unforgiving, right? You cannot make mistakes. It doesn't work. Like it feels like Tuchel's has more give in the system, and that give is almost always N'Golo Conte, right? Show me the team that doesn't win without N'Golo Conte, and I'll show you a good manager. I do want to cover. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say quickly on West Ham because they are 4th in the table here. They batter the shit out of a free falling Aston Villa side.
They're in trouble. 4 in a row they've lost.
Yeah. So quickly on them, they're in 15th. 3 points clear of 18th place Burnley, by the way. So I don't think
it's
we're gonna have
nasty down
time.
there.
I don't think we're gonna have time to get into the relegation battle. We'll talk about it on Thursday, but there's some friends down there that we're worried about. But conversely, at the top end of the table, 4th place, West Ham, tied with City on 20 points. I've been saying that I've been waiting for the European hangover to start hitting them. It hasn't yet.
Good.
They're not deep enough to really do this for forever. But I mean,
they basically have one guy off the bench, Lanzini.
Right.
And sometimes Yarmolenko.
Yeah, I was gonna say my guy Yarmolenko, but
now the thing I like about West Ham is one, I posted something. If Moyes had never got the United job, he'd be in line for the United job. They're running their guys out there, right? So in the league, they have 4 players who've played every game of every minute.
Mm-hmm.
So Rice, Ogbonna, Fabianski, and Cresswell have not missed a game. Souček has missed 12 minutes. Yep. Fornals has missed 18 minutes. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
These dudes are playing.
All right.
Like, so if you go look at their list, there's just dudes that aren't playing ever, right? Like, just like guys who are vanished. Like Issa Diop,
most of them,
bye, never see you again.
Most of them are going to go play an international duty in a couple of weeks coming up here in about 10 days. They've got Liverpool on Sunday. They've got the international break, a good Wolves team on the road. They've got one of those European games, and then they go to the Etihad. And Brighton again, and then Chelsea. Holy shit.
They're in trouble.
Again,
they got to win. They got to win those games or draw them. If they draw them, they're good.
This is not meant to be disrespectful to West Ham. They're a good side. In fact, I would argue they are going to finish in one of the European places again.
Sure, they're going to finish in Europe.
I'm selling high on West Ham right now. I am pushing all of it as far away from it as I can. And you know what? I'm going to pick it back up after the Burnley match on December 12th. I'm going to for pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
But if West Ham were a stock, you sell it right now.
Yeah, of course. I mean, they faded at the end of last season as well, but they did go to Europe. They did make the European places last year. Mm-hmm. They don't have depth, and I think that's known. You know, they really, really, really need another striker badly. Like, if Antonio goes down, they're in trouble.
Yeah.
Like, they don't really have another person to score goals. But I like them. I mean, I think that anyone who watches West Ham, if you watch them for any amount of time, there is a spirit in this team that is really infectious. Like, you saw the kid score the goal against Aston Villa, and the whole team runs to him and they all dance with him together. I mean, it was really cool. I think it's is it Ben Johnson, not the runner, and they all come out to him, and that shit matters, right? You notice teams that go through the motions celebrating, right? Mikel Antonio has a dance for everybody, and City. When I see City score goals, they kind of get together and they turn their heads away from each other. Like Pep has said, you guys go hug each other and be near each other, but they don't really give a shit. And, you know, United is Ronaldo running around and jumping on his own. They have some good spirit, I think, United, to be fair. But, you know, you notice when teams get off the bench or don't get with each other. But this team has spirit. I like Moyes. I don't know how much damage was done to him when he lost that United job, because he really sputtered for a while.
He did.
He had Sunderland. He had Real Sociedad when he became David Moyes, the great Moyes, in Spain. I commend him for going, because it's hard to do.
Well, and he had that whole like sexual abuse thing, or like sexual harassment thing. Excuse me.
No, he was just being Scottish.
That's what I'm saying. That's why he fucked off to Spain for a little while. He needed to keep a low profile.
But what I was trying to drive at is my guy. There's a lot of guys in West Ham that I like. Like, I've called out Said Berahama from the Championship, where he was a Brentford guy in early Brentford, and then my other friend, Mr. Bowen, who had 20 goals at the half for Hull 2 seasons ago, and jumped ship to the Premier League as they went down. He doesn't score goals as much in the Premier League, but he's a worker. And he drew the penalty. There was a lot of dogzo today, a lot of VAR stuff I don't like. I hate VAR. It's boring to say. I don't want it. I don't like it on Spain. I don't like it on Tuesdays. I don't like it on the rain. I don't like VAR. I don't want it. I want to get rid of it, because City would have drawn our game if we didn't fucking have it.
But you wouldn't have won.
What?
You wouldn't have won.
Yeah, well, maybe, yeah. The red card was not a VAR red card. They just gave it to him. They're like, get the fuck out of here, Laporte. I do want to go through really quickly just to make sure we don't leave any of our friends out. Our former girlfriend from Leeds, we broke up, but they won a game. I wish her well. She's doing okay. They're above the relegation zone.
They needed that one. They needed that.
And then Burnley, I don't know what. Brentford got drunk at a party and got beat up at a, you know.
Brentford got roofied. Okay. Brentford got Ronaldo'd.
Now I do. This is one thing to watch for. They have a backup keeper, and Raya was really good. And they don't look like goalkeeping mistakes, but the thing I noticed about their keeper was he was in the wrong place. So the shots would come and they would just go over him or past him. And you're like, why was he there?
Right.
His positioning was bad for two of the goals. He came too far out and allowed Wood to chip him, or it was a good shot, but maybe had he been sitting deeper, maybe he would have gotten it. Maybe Raya would have got it. So these are the things, like, they don't look like goalkeeping errors, but if you watch a team enough, you're like, that guy's not where he's supposed to be.
Yeah, he shouldn't.
He was coming too far out. So I will worry for Brentford. They're very much a tight-knit unit where every guy is important. And, these teams that come up, they don't have depth. Mm-hmm. And I could see Brentford having a really hard time until their keeper comes back. So be worried for them.
I am worried for my friends.
We've
got Champions League.
We cut Norwich loose. They're gone. Newcastle United getting relegated before they get their players in would be fucking amazing. And I think that is that. Aside from Everton, I do have one thing to watch for Everton. Do the fans turn on Rafa and he jump ship to Newcastle?
Yeah, I mean,
they don't
it would make sense.
Want him there.
No, and he would
He's
be
a
welcomed
Liverpool
with open arms.
No, they would take him back at Newcastle tomorrow.
Yeah.
I wonder if that conversation is happening. I wonder if he asked to be fired.
The manager carousel is going to be super interesting to see. And that's another one that would if he were fired then hired, that's different than just jumping ship from Premier League team to Premier League team. But yeah, I mean, what is the manager carousel going to look like in, say, it's November 2nd, January 2nd, in 2 months, right after at the end of the festive period? Do teams like, teams like Everton have managers?
I think if Leeds is in trouble, Bielsa will walk.
Yeah,
he's weird. He'll just jump.
Yeah,
and then they'll go down.
Yeah, oh yeah, that'll be it for Leeds for a while.
Yeah,
they're going to be tough to. Yeah,
I mean, the spread of points is it's still very early. There's no really.
I have my eye on Rafinha.
Oh, you should have your eye on Rafinha.
If he goes down, good. If they go down, he's who I want. That would be fun.
He's really, really good.
That would be really fun.
Really good.
These fucking Italians are going to buy everybody from Serie A, but I want Rafinha. It's interesting. They they exclusively target players that Juventus has or have targeted in the last 4 years. I'm like, cool, great guys. How's Juventus going? Not great. Have you looked at the Serie A table? They're in fucking 8th place. So maybe
how did Salernitana do versus Napoli?
They came close. They lost 1-0 and a late goal. Hey, Napoli are top of the table right now.
I know. It's a weird season. Yeah, they could win. They've been waiting for this season for years.
If I could have gotten a point out of the table toppers, that would have been a drug I haven't had yet.
All right, Mike. Let's wrap this one up. We're running out of gas.
Question to leave you with. Who gets the new manager boost from Antonio Conte, and who does Conte try to do the reverse Spreewell and choke him to death?
He's going to kill one of these French guys or Dele Alli.
Okay.
He's going to kill Sanchez. He's going to play Sanchez because he likes the way he runs and his athleticism, and then he's going to kill him when he falls down on his own face.
Yeah. I think I see they only have one. Well, aside from Loris, they only have one French guy left because they let Aurier leave for literally no money whatsoever. So maybe they'll just sign him back so he can kill him. But you're right. I think my pick was going to be in Ndombele.
God.
It's weird. the answer is for me is almost both for Ndombele, but I think it'll be Lucas Moura because I think that he's going to settle into that role in the 10 and then shoot out wide sometimes on the counter. I think he could be the guy that really takes off.
Or maybe he plays the Victor Moses role and just becomes a wingback.
That's entirely possible too.
Because Conte's very, very creative. The
can't
guys
wait
that
to
were in
see-
places, they'll be in different places.
There's been so much talk about so much deadwood and this and that about Spurs. Like
They're not
this
deadwood.
guy-
He'll find use for them.
Well, this is the thing. He either will or he's going to kill them and just be like, just don't even fucking come tomorrow. So I'm just there. It's going to be a wacky ride for Spurs.
Right.
I'm excited for it because you know what? The product on the field was not worth watching. So this is actually more fun for me.
And Conte
So now
is
it seems
attacking. Don't listen to the defensive thing. They're fun.
Yeah.
His teams are fun. Like,
he's just unpredictable. I have no idea what to think. So
he's gonna. I know and run up and down.
I know it's good, but like I have no idea what to expect. I should say. So I'm excited for it, and let's jump in once more under the breach.
When he gets his suit with the fucking cockerel on it, he's gonna look fucking awesome. And his wig or his glued on hair, whatever he's
and
up
his
to.
Cigarettes and his gum. Oh, no, that was the other one. What doesn't matter. Let's get the fuck out of here.
All right. That was the Squeaky Bum Time Podcast with Mike Salerno and Laurent Cortines. We are the football wing of the Chop Sports Network. We're over 40,000 downloads as a team, and we represent at least 10% of that. We record on Tuesdays and Fridays, so be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you're listening on Apple, please rate and review the show. I want to thank my sister Simone, who wrote a review, and my cousin Julianne, who listens in France, who I did not know was listening to my show. So respect to the Cortines family. Kicking ass. And we'll be back.
Je t'aime.
Yeah, we je t'aime.